Hi, I'm Vicky Ross, and welcome back to the Rise Up podcast. Around here, we do personal growth and inner work with a sense of humor as much as I can. Because if you can't smile at what you're doing, then life gets really heavy very, very quickly. So today, I want to talk about something that sounds positive, it even sounds virtuous, but quietly causes a lot of stress. I want to talk about concern. Because concern can be a double-edged sword. So a lot of people will say to me, but surely it's right to worry about your children. And surely it's right to be concerned about your parents. And surely it's loving to worry about the people you care about. And yes, sometimes concern is real and it's appropriate. But we have to make a distinction that most people never make. Is the concern a physical concern or about the physical well-being of someone and practical, or is it psychological? Are you concerned about their psychology? Because those two things are not the same. So let me give you a bit more examples and information. If a child genuinely cannot look after themselves, concern is appropriate. If someone is vulnerable or if they're ill or genuinely dependent on someone, concern makes sense. So leave that alone, step away from that picture. But when concern becomes psychological, like, are they coping? Are they okay? Are they doing this right? What if something goes wrong? What if they do the wrong thing? That's a completely different thing altogether. And that is where concern can quietly turn into control. But instead of supporting someone's growth, what we land up doing is we interfere with it. And that's why it's a problem. So instead of allowing people to learn, to fail, adapt, grow, we rescue. And rescuing has never, ever helped anyone. So rescuing feels loving, it feels kind, but it can be very deeply disabling. So one of the biggest confusions I see in this area is that if I stop worrying, it means I don't love you. So in NLP terms, we call that a complex equivalent. When you stop worrying, it's not because you don't care, but it's because you trust somebody. So if you don't worry about somebody, it's because you trust that they are okay. And you also trust that if they're not okay, they're going to reach out to you. So you trust that the other person's capable. You trust that life will unfold in perfect way. You trust that you can respond if something actually happens. But people are afraid of that. They think, if I don't worry, and show it in the way of concern and in the way of interference, then you won't feel loved. If I don't check in, I'll seem uncaring to you. And if I don't stay concerned, I'll look selfish. So concern becomes a kind of proof of love, which it shouldn't be. But underneath that proof is often a very, very quiet message. I don't actually trust that you will be okay without me. Let me say that again. I don't actually trust that you'll be okay without me. And that changes the dynamics of the relationship completely. Now, here's something that's uncomfortable, but it's also really important to hear it, understand it, and process. Concern often gives the person who's worrying something. So it might give them a connection. It might give them a purpose. It might make them feel like there's a belonging. It might give them meaning. It says, I matter, I'm needed, I'm important. And human beings need connection. Without connection, we slide into depression. So we need that. So sometimes concern isn't really about the other person. Sometimes it's filling something that's missing inside of us. And that's when concern stops being care and starts being a strategy. This is where we get into what I call the unconscious contracts. And this one is the most common one that I see. I will help you, and then you validate me. So it's not spoken, it's not deliberate, it's not conscious, but it's there. I'll give my time. I will sacrifice myself. I will worry about you. I will overfunction. I will rescue. And in return, I want to feel seen. I want to feel appreciated. I want to feel valued. And when that validation doesn't come back, when it's not noticed or is not reciprocated in the same way, bitterness appears massively. So look at everything I've done. Look how much I've suffered. Oh, you haven't even noticed all the work that I've done for you. Now, sadly, that's not love. That's an unconscious contract breaking. And over time, concern can stop being something that you feel and start becoming part of who you are. So you become the warrior, you become the helper, you become the saviour of the day, the one who jumps in, the one who can't sit back, the one who feels responsible for everybody else, the one who'll pick up the phone and say, I'll be there, even though there are friends and family that are there to rescue whatever is going on. And often, underneath that identity is a need to be needed. And because if I'm needed, it means I'm valuable. And if I'm valuable, then I'm safe. But here's the cost. Because when you do too much for others, you often feel resentful that others don't do the same for you. And that resentment is the clue that something is wrong. So let's talk about that chronic concern and what it does to the nervous system. Chronic concern is worry. Worry is stress, and stress is chemistry. Overthinking, heart palpitations, tension, exhaustion. There's nothing healthy about chronic concern. And no amount of worrying ever guarantees a better outcome. If someone is terminally ill, that's not concern, that's grief. If someone is genuinely vulnerable, that's not anxiety, that's care. But chronic worry, just in case, is anxiety rehearsing itself. And anxiety as an emotion is addictive. The brain gets used to the chemistry. And this brings us up to the turning point of this episode, if you like. You cannot stop concern unless you learn to trust. And you cannot stop worrying if you don't trust yourself. You cannot stop worrying if you don't trust life. Concern is an attempt to control an uncertain future. But here's the truth. We are never in control. We think we might be, we try to be, but we are never in control. The sooner that you stop trying to manage what might happen and start trusting that whatever happens, you'll respond, the lighter life begins to feel. Concern can shift from obligation to choice, from I have to I want to. And that changes everything. One of the biggest harms of overconcern is that it disables other people. When you're constantly rescuing, you don't allow others to learn through experience. You send the message of, you can't handle this, you're not capable, let me do it. And although that message is unconscious, it lands. So growth requires space, mistakes, and trial and error. Concern that controls steals that space of growth. So this episode isn't about stopping you being concerned. It's about becoming aware of it. So here's the inquiry that I'll leave you with. Ask yourself, am I being concerned because someone is genuinely vulnerable or because I am uncomfortable with the uncertainty? What does my concern give me, and is it actually helping the other person? So there are no judgments here, just awareness. And the awareness is where choice begins. If something in today's episode stirred something for you, let it settle. You don't need to fix anything right now, but just simply notice. Because when you understand yourself more clearly, everything begins to change. Now, if you want to join my community and have more of me and more of an amazing group of people to be with, reach out to me and I'll give you a link to my membership. And if you want more one-to-one work, well, we can do that too. Just reach out. And for the rest, I wish you a good week, and here's to your success.